Mariachi music. It's one of the things Jalisco is most famous for. And Jalisco's food, I think you're going to love it more with each and every bite. Music and food come together when I share a classic lunch with Angel Martinez, leader of one of the most famous mariachi bands, not only in Guadalajara, but all of Mexico.
Música del mariachi, ¿a qué no le va?
Pues no, la verdad se ha usado a todo.
Back in my kitchen,
The heat. Yum.
Sammy will join me as I recreate a Tapatío specialty and add a twist on the familiar.
Now we need a lot of whipped cream.
Oh boy.
Starting with that classic lunch I ate with Angel, Carne en su Jugo.
Nobody outside of Guadalajara that I know has heard of Carne en su Jugo. Yeah.
Until now.
A complex, rich 3-chile guacamole
Yum.
and corn masa shortcake with berries and cream.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll definitely be taking this one to college.
Jalisco's food and Jalisco's music. It goes with everything.
Dame, dame, dame tu chocolate, dame, dame, dame café caliente, dame, dame, dame tu corazón.
Everybody loves mariachis, and for Mexicans, mariachis just make us feel connected to home. In Jalisco, they're so proud because that's the cradle of mariachis. Now, there's another thing that comes from Jalisco that nobody knows about if you're not from Jalisco, particularly from Guadalajara, and that is a dish called carne en su jugo. You are going to love it. Maybe as much as mariachis. So it's a combination of cooked beans and meat that cooks in its juices. You can use the beans from the can already cooked, but if you cook the beans at home, it'll be that much better, and it's so simple to cook the beans at home. So the first thing that you have to do with the beans is pick through them, which just means you're gonna find the broken beans or any little pebbles or rocks that surprisingly still appear. And I'm gonna rinse my beans, and then I'm gonna put them in the pot where they're gonna cook and cover them with water. Now I'm gonna add half of an onion, and notice I'm gonna leave the part of the roots of the onion because the onion is gonna cook with the pinto beans for over an hour. So now I'm gonna bring this to a strong boil. Don't add the salt in the beginning because it will toughen the beans. You wanna wait until the beans are cooked, like an hour. Then I'm gonna add a tablespoon of salt and let them cook for like 10-15 minutes more. And you have your frijoles de olla, super simple. The carne en su jugo is really like a cross between a stew and a soup, kind of like a guisado. It's a combination of meat that cooks in its juices and in a little bit of bacon fat. And then that gets mixed with the pinto beans, but it gets cooked down with a tomatillo sauce. So I need a pound of tomatillos, so you can use green or purple. I'm adding them here in the pot. Once the beans come to a really rolling boil like this, you wanna reduce your heat to medium, and you wanna partially cover the pot and just let them cook like for an hour. I have 2 serrano chiles. You're gonna cook them whole, and it's gonna take anywhere between 7 or 10 minutes just until the tomatillos or tomatoes are very, very mushy and soft. And while this happens, I'm gonna go get my bacon. So for this carne en su jugo, we're going to use 2 pounds of steak for 1 pound of bacon. Just gonna cut the bacon into small bite-sized pieces. We're gonna first fry the bacon, and we're gonna get all of its rendered fat, and that is where we're going to sear the meat. So it's gonna be the base of the flavor for the stew. But then once the bacon is completely cooked and crisp and crunchy, we're gonna set it aside and we're gonna add it to the stew at the end. So it's the base and the final garnish. You're gonna see. So I'm gonna add the bacon. This whole pound of bacon really becomes nothing once you crisp it up. And as the juices start to come out, you add the tomatillo sauce, And then that's it. You have like the quickest possible guisado. Okay, so as the bacon finishes frying, I'm gonna puree my seasoning sauce. Oh, it smells so good. I'm gonna add a pound of tomatillos that already cooked. Gradually add your chiles to the sauce or whatever you're cooking. So I'm starting with one of the serrano chiles. I'm gonna cut it in half. Then I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon salt. You wanna add a full cup, like really, really packed cup of cilantro. I'm just checking in on my bacon. The thing with the bacon is you really wanna take it out before it looks ready. Because after you take it out, it's still burning hot and it's still crisping a little bit. So when you think that the bacon is starting to look ready, just take it out. The cooked tomatillos, chiles, salt, and the fresh cilantro, we're gonna puree these until completely smooth. Look at the color. I mean, the color is just so beautiful. And I'm gonna taste for heat. The heat. Yum. Really spicy, tart, and very herby from the cilantro. So this sauce is gonna cut across the meat and the bacon to make a delicious stew. So I have my meat. I have 2 pounds of sirloin steak. And these we need to slice thinly and then cut into small pieces. But I also know that my beans are ready and it's time to salt them. So once the beans are soft, we're gonna add a tablespoon of salt and then just stir these and let these cook for like 10 more minutes so that the beans now season really nicely with the salt. This recipe was given to me by La Tia Tichi, or Aunt Tichi, who's the aunt of my friend Monica from Guadalajara. And I'm not discarding the fat because the fat of the beef will also melt and render into the fat of the bacon. So this is a very, very meaty, beefy, bacony stew. So I'm adding all of the meat. I have 2 pounds of sirloin steak that we cut into really small pieces. See how fast it's gonna brown in that bacon fat? The meat browned, but then it immediately started letting out its juices, which is when we wanna add the onion. So I'm gonna chop about a cup of white onion. And then I'm not adding any more salt because we have the smoky and the salty taste of the bacon fat in here. I'm gonna add about 2 cups of chicken broth. So we're gonna let this cook for about 10 minutes and I'm gonna make some guacamole. We're using the jalapeño, we're using a serrano, and we're using a chile de árbol, but we're not using any chile de árbol. We're using a chile de árbol from Yagualica. And Yagualica is this kind of chile de árbol that comes mostly from the state of Jalisco and is really, really packed with flavor at the same time as heat. You can mix and match your chiles. You can play with combining the fresh chiles with the dry chiles, and they're gonna bring into your dish, to your guacamole, something really different. So I'm adding the zest of a lime, and then we're gonna add the juice. And we're doing this because we're macerating the base of the guacamole. I'm adding the salt, some cilantro, and I'm also going to mix the cilantro with everything in here. This is where you're going to really combine all of these ingredients into a seasoning paste. So you want ripe avocados that are soft to the hold. I don't like my guacamole completely smooth, so I like to mash it like this, but still leave some chunks. If you had only one avocado, you could have done this in the molcajete, but hey, we have many avocados in here. Now I'm adding some mixed tomatoes. I'm just cutting these into 2, just like that. It's almost like a tres chiles guacamole and tomato salad. Yum.
Y ay, mi Jalisco, sí señor. Ahora chiquilla.
You know that sound as soon as you hear it. The music of mariachi. And we Mexicans don't just hear mariachi, we feel it. The music, the songs, the stories, they share who we are with so much heart. To learn more about the history of this great Mexican tradition, I'm meeting up with Ángel Martínez, the leader of this phenomenal band, Mariachi Nuevo Tecalitlán.
Ángel, qué gusto que estás aquí. Déjame decirle I want to tell our friends that we're in Guadalajara, Jalisco, and we are with one of the biggest mariachis.
Ángel and I are at Carne, an iconic restaurant in Guadalajara known for another point of Jalisco pride. But we'll get to that in a minute.
Tell me the story about Nuevo Tecalitlán, but also I want to tell our friends the story of mariachis en Jalisco.
Ok, pues el mariachi Nuevo Tecalitlán es fundado en Guadalajara. Nuestro origen es Tecalitlán, que mi familia Martínez, desde mi abuelo Blas, se vino de Tecalitlán a radicar a Guadalajara.
¿Y tienen 55 años?
56 este año estamos cumpliendo, 2021, estamos cumpliendo 56 años de existencia.
Ay, tenemos cosas bonitas en mi tierra jalisciense. La chévere y el tequila, su mariachi, sus bailables.
¿Y Tecalitlán, the cradle of mariachis en Jalisco?
Es el origen de los mariachis más representativos de Jalisco. Ahí se originó el mariachi Vargas. Entonces Mariachi Vargas pues tiene 120 años de historia.
How is the old mariachi different from the new mariachi?
El mariachi antiguo se inicia con instrumentos básicos como 2 violines, arpa y vihuela.
Mariachi started as the music of humble people who built their own instruments from scratch, based on Spanish instruments like the harp and early guitar. Over the years, horns were added, bands got bigger, and they started dressing in uniform as charros, Mexican cowboys. The music that started as poor peasant folk became more and more festive, leading to this iconic sound that we know today.
¿Cómo empieza a evolucionar?
Los músicos van tocando en las fiestas del pueblo.
Claro.
Entonces las festividades de las iglesias siempre eran acompañadas con música y música de mariachi.
México, voz que canta. México, voz que canta. Sí, señor.
Just as central as the sound of mariachi is to Jaliscienses, so is the taste of carne en su jugo to people from Guadalajara. A kind of hearty stew of beans, beef, and bacon. Carne Garibaldi is known for making some of the best in all of Jalisco. And they also hold the world record for fastest service, 13 seconds from when you order to when it hits the table.
Sí, sabe muy especial, delicioso.
También te lo pueden servir
Uy.
con frijoles de la olla o acompañado con frijoles refritos.
La música de mariachi va a todos lados, ¿no? O sea, va a bodas, 15 años, nacimientos, conciertos. ¿Por qué crees que la música del mariachi representa toda la vida de los mexicanos?
Precisamente por eso, porque se ha ido adaptando. Podemos tocar desde músicas de orquesta, de grupos, de bandas. Se ha ido creciendo de ser 4 músicos. Ahora somos pues un promedio de 12 hasta 15 y hasta más, ¿no?
La música del mariachi, ¿a qué no le va?
Pues no, la
Le
verdad
va
se ha
todo.
usado a todo.
Igual de accesible la música mexicana de grupo de mariachi como la comida mexicana.
Sí, la comida
Para
mexicana
todo.
Combina muy bien.
Que refleja nuestro carácter.
Así es, nuestro carácter de mexicanos.
En el rancho que es como un cuadro por sus paisajes y sus colores, fiesta del campo llena de amores, de mis amores.
While the carne en su jugo finishes simmering back there, we want a light dessert. I've always wanted to make a shortcake and bring it down to Mexico. So we're gonna make a shortcake with masa harina. I'm combining masa harina with flour to make this crumbly shortcake, and I'm gonna top it with some berries. And then we're gonna add a lot of whipped cream, because who doesn't want that? Sammy's gonna join me in a little bit as soon as he starts smelling something in the kitchen, which should be soon. Having the boys being a part of the kitchen, both as a family and having them join me professionally. Sometimes they will come when I need to cook in a different city. It's made them super open for new experiences and new flavors. So we're gonna make the sauce where the berries are gonna macerate for a little. We're gonna add the juice of half of a lemon. I'm adding 2 tablespoons of sugar, a teaspoon, what would be a splash of vanilla extract. So this shortcake is gonna be super dressed up, just like the mariachis do. You know, there's so much ceremony in how they practice and how they dress and how they perform. It's such a dressed up profession. So I'm adding the berries in here, and we're gonna mix these up. To make this shortcake have a Mexican spin, we're going to combine all-purpose flour with masa harina. You can see, I mean, it's just such a beautiful flour. It makes whatever you use it in that's not a tortilla or a tamal be like delightfully crumbly. So I'm using 1 cup, and then I'm adding 1 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, just your regular flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, and then 3/4 teaspoon of salt, and then we're gonna add 1 1/2 tablespoons of sugar. And then we're gonna whisk it so that your dry ingredients are really nice and mixed before you add your liquid. And I'm gonna make a little well right here in the middle. And then I'm gonna add 1 1/3 cups of heavy cream. This is really simple and no mixer, no blender. I'm gonna start mixing it here with my spatula, just like this. And we're gonna make it come together with my hands. Oh, it feels nice and soft. It does feel flaky a little, which is what you want. Just gonna knead it as much as we need to knead it so that it'll come together. So soft and nice. Okay, so we want like 3/4 inch of thickness. Then I have a 3-inch ring. I'm gonna try to get 4 out of these. I mean, so easy to make that now that my boys are starting to be in other kitchens that aren't this one, in college dorms. This is something that they can make that's so easy. I mean, how cute is this? So cute. So we're making another 2 more come out of this piece of dough. So now I'm gonna brush them with a little bit of cream. And this is so that we can garnish it with sugar. I have turbinado sugar here. You could use brown sugar. And this is just gonna make the top brown and crisp and have that delightful crunchy texture. I have my oven at 375, and we're gonna bake these masa shortcakes for 15 to 18 minutes until they're brown on top. So now we're ready to put it all together. The meat, the broth, the sauce, and now we're adding the beans. So now that everything came together, it's gonna cook for another 15 minutes. So we have the carne en su jugo, and it looks good.
It smells good.
You have the meat and the beans here. I mean, I just love this kind of food so much. You're gonna help me garnish, okay?
Okay.
So we're supposed to put some cilantro. Cebollita.
What do you want to put in yours?
Yeah.
Tuna.
Little lime.
Yeah.
And now we're adding the crisp bacon. Like, when have you seen a Mexican dish that has bacon as a garnish along with cilantro?
Honestly,
and
I'm not
onion?
surprised. But
Yeah.
not a lot.
Okay, so this is how they, like, there, like,
This is
they
so
just chase
spicy.
it. You find it so spicy?
Not so spicy, but it's surprising. Because I've never had. I don't know. I feel like usually you don't have very spicy guacamole. No?
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
Mmm.
Was it hot?
Mmm.
Oh,
I
wow.
just love food like this.
I think. It's got a lot of tang to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, I feel like this combination is like it complements itself very well.
Mm-hmm. And I find that it's so hearty. And you know that nobody outside of Guadalajara that I know has heard of carne en su jugo.
Mm.
Yeah.
Until now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have our shortcakes. We have our berries. Now we need a lot of whipped cream.
Oh boy.
So we have, if you can help me pour the heavy cream here, we're gonna combine heavy cream with sour cream. So it's gonna be nice and acidic to contrast with the sweet, and then we're gonna add, please.
Todo?
See, that's like 3 tablespoons of confectioner's sugar.
Okay.
Let's do a splash of the vanilla. Todo. Eyeball like a teaspoon.
Teaspoon?
Yeah, you
Alright, you
go.
tell me.
Yeah.
Alright. Oh wait,
That's
not-
good. That's perfect. Now we're gonna whip. You want it to hold peaks, but not like super stiff. So when you start seeing the shape, now that you've been away and with your friends, you've been cooking a lot, no?
Yeah, definitely. As an apartment, we're like 5 people, and so we take turns cooking together. No, it's been really great. I got really lucky because pretty much all of us came from a background where we were all either cooking at home or eating meals together with our families.
For me, you know, as a mom, cooking together with you guys has been so enriching, and it's been an opportunity not also to like get you involved. It's been such a great way to have quality time as a family together. But I also see you now, you know, as a grown-up, that it's taught you so many things, like so many skills.
I think after I left, like you feel like you're like missing out on something when you don't have like family dinners or sort of like even if I don't cook with you, just like sitting here and watching you cook and being able to, it's like the best time to be able to recap on the day. And
the incredible thing, Samim, is that I think that it really has gone both ways. Like, I feel like I've taught you guys like from our heritage and where we come from in Mexican food, but you guys are teaching me so much. Foods from different countries and different cultures, and that then you bring back home. So cooking and spending that time together in the kitchen is something that you continue to grow with.
totally. Yeah, I think one thing especially, I had 2 vegetarian and 1 vegan roommates, and so a lot of the time I would ask for your recipes, but I'd have to turn them into something vegan.
Yeah.
And so that was cool too, being able to like experiment on my own, messing up a lot sometimes, but just like getting to test new fusions too. If I had, you know, someone from a different country or something where we could sort of mix different cultures, and that was really cool to see too.
Yeah. Do you feel like spending time in the kitchen and having all these skills gave you confidence to explore more things when you're out on your own?
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, just being able to cook for other people, especially if it's like a big group or something like that, I don't think I would have had the confidence to do it if I didn't get to do it a little bit here first.
But then you felt so proud. Yeah. Good?
Oh, I get why you put the sour cream in this. Yeah. Está buenísimo esto, eh?
You love it? Makes me so happy.
Yeah, I'll definitely be taking this one to college.